Hey everybody, Chuck Holton here. I am on my last day in Guam, and I just wanted to get this quick video out in case I don't have a chance to do a live later on this morning, Eastern time, tonight, my time. That's because we're going to be busy running to the airport and that sort of thing. But there's a lot going on, and I wanted to comment on one thing in specific, and that's what's happening between the United States and Iran. So, as you know, President Trump had given an ultimatum to the Ayatollah Khomeini in Iran and told him he's got 2 months to come to the negotiating table and get rid of their nuclear program and stop funding their proxies all around the world, or else. And he had, yesterday made it even clearer, saying unequivocally that there will be military action against Iran if they don't come to the negotiating table. And that is big talk. I mean, that's a first. We have never struck Iran directly uh, in a kinetic fashion. When you count like cyber warfare, yes, we have through Stuxnet and that sort of thing. But nevertheless, this would be a definite escalation. For their part, Iran has said they're not going to negotiate with us in any way, shape, or form. They're not going to give up their proxies because they say they're not proxies. We don't have any control over those guys just because they're firing Iranian missiles and rockets and drones at everybody. And just because there are Iranian ships out there helping them target ships in the Red Sea, and just because uh, we've got Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps members on the ground in Syria and Lebanon and other places, I don't know what you're talking about. They're not a proxy, which is as ridiculous as it sounds. But they have said that they would be willing to come to some sort of negotiation through a third party like Qatar, maybe Egypt, or something like that. And maybe that's a way for them to save face. I don't know. But if they've already ruled out the possibility of two of the three things that President Trump told them that they have to do, get rid of their nuclear plan and quit funding proxies, then it's already a moot point. For their part, the Iranians have said that if the United States attacks Iran, they will uh, attack Diego Garcia airbase in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Now, Diego Garcia is about 3,000 miles away from Iran proper. So it would be pretty hard for them to strike at that range with anything, but they just have a few ballistic missiles that could reach Diego Garcia. But of course, the United States has Patriot missile batteries on Diego Garcia, without a doubt, and we would knock them out of the sky without too much trouble anyway. So even if we didn't use those, we've got jets down there that could fly up and shoot them down as they're coming in. So it's not likely we have to worry a whole lot about Iranians trying to strike at Diego Garcia in terms of killing any U.S. servicemen or anything like that. There's always a possibility of that, though. And certainly attacking Diego Garcia would be an act of war by Iran against the United States and could actually result in a real shooting war, not just a tit for tat uh, bombing campaign. And that is my real question here, is that are there planners at the Pentagon that are thinking this through? Because if we say they're going to, uh, let's say, knock out the nuclear program in Iran. Uh, okay, so they're going to bomb the entrances to many of the nuclear facilities there. That's not going to destroy their nuclear program. It's just going to shut it down for a while. So the only way to take out their nuclear program would be to actually put troops on the ground, go inside those underground cities, and make sure that all the equipment is destroyed. Nobody in America has the stomach to want to do that. We cannot bomb our way out of this problem. We could set them back a ways. We could, uh, do something like that. But probably the more likely scenario would be for us to attempt to affect regime change without doing it ourselves. What I mean is, the United States, we could always just try to decapitate their leadership, but we kind of have a policy against doing that. We don't go after the president of a country or the Ayatollah Khomeini. Killing the Ayatollah, since he's a religious figure in Shiite Islam, would make a whole lot more trouble probably than it would solve with other Shia around the world who already hate us most for the most part. But that's a remains to be seen. The easier way to affect regime change would probably be to take out their economic engines, bomb their power plants, bomb their uh, industry, things like that, and so cripple their economy that the regime collapses for lack of funds, and then the people of Iran can come in and sort of, institute some better form of government. And there are a lot of people in Iran that would love to see that happen, without a doubt. Although we'd have to be very careful about how we do that so that we don't cause so much suffering on the Iranian people that we just create more angry enemies. I think the thing that America has to worry about the most in terms of a threat from Iran, if we go through with this, is not the fact that they might bomb Diego Garcia. They could theoretically have the Houthis fire something at Diego Garcia, and I think that might be a little closer to our base. But where that threat to Diego Garcia is uh, pretty small. The bigger threat is the asymmetric threat in the United States, both cyber and when it comes to actual terrorist cells that are on the ground inside Iran. Those terrorist cells inside the ground on Iran certainly exist. We know they exist. They have been caught at different times. We suspect they may have been involved in the plot to take out President Trump before he got elected. And so they're in the United States without a doubt. And it wouldn't be anything for them to uh, come up with 15 or 20 guys who could be, shown how to or plan a massive multi-pronged terror cell attack in one major metropolitan area or several major metropolitan areas across the United States to create absolute chaos and gridlock. And I don't think I'm being hyperbolic saying that it's really just a matter of time until we see something like that happen from one of our enemies somewhere around the globe, because there are no shortage of people who hate America, of course, and never have been a shortage. So what that means is that that's something the United States needs to be really on its guard, uh, preparing for. And there are some important things we could be doing right now to do that. I've talked a little bit about that in my recent book, Death of Civilization. You can get that over at chuckholton.com. And I would highly recommend you go over there anyway, because I'm putting up a lot of extra content that I either can't put up on YouTube, or we're going to put up first on locals and then we'll put up later on YouTube. So it's going to be for our supporters only at first. And so go to chuckholton.com, subscribe over there, and you can get a lot more of that content. Make sure you also like and subscribe to the YouTube channel here on the Hot Zone so that you can get notified when we're going to do live broadcasts, so you can be on and chat directly with me. Now, the other one is cyber war, and I've talked about this a lot in the past, that Iran probably has its hackers creating or finding and implementing zero-day exploits in American critical infrastructure and industry, companies, hospitals, uh, schools, governments, and dams and bridges, and everything runs on the internet nowadays. Water supply, you name it, electrical supply. And so if they are able to exploit some sort of weakness in any of those things, they can theoretically shut off the power, shut off the water, cause dams to overflow. I mean, there's all sorts of scenarios out there that the United States has got to guard against. And I think our power grid is probably the most vulnerable part of all. So, well, hospitals too. Hospitals are exceedingly vulnerable in their software. And that's why almost every hospital in America has been a victim of ransomware attacks at one point or another in the last 10 years. You just don't hear about it because they don't want to tell people. They don't want people to know that they're happening. So that's all I wanted to say today. And I will try to do a live, but just in case I didn't get that live up, I wanted to get that part out for you. Again, please go to chuckholton.com and make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast over here. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.